Coming up on Tech News Today, Microsoft buys a little bit of Barnes & Noble, more than just a book. UK blocks the Pirate Bay, and can Skype tell where you are? All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, April 30th, 2012. Tech News Today is brought to you by ShareFile. Enhance your workflow, send files of almost any size easily and securely with ShareFile, brought to you by Citrix. Try ShareFile today. I have a great offer to get you started. A 30-day free trial plus get double storage. To get this great offer, visit sharefile.com, click the radio microphone, and enter our promo code TNT. And by Ford, featuring voice-activated Sync App Link. Now you can control select smartphone apps with your voice, help you keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Learn more about the technologies Ford is bringing to its vehicles at ford.com/technology. And by GoToMeeting. Meet face-to-face from anywhere in the world with GoToMeeting with HD Faces. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomeeting.com, promo code TNT. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
I'm Chad Johnson.
And joining us from Polygon.com, Mr. Russell, something in the middle initial Pitts. How's it going, Russ?
You're just going to make something up?
Well, I wasn't sure if it was okay to reveal your actual middle name, because that gives people power over you.
That's true. That is a little creepy. You can just call me Hugo Russell, Hugo Pitts, or Hugo Russell Pitts. Or you can call me Ray, actually, or Jay.
But don't ever call you
What
Johnson.
about Ray J?
You're Ray J.
Against the machine.
Kind of awesome.
Let's call you guy who has an opinion about Microsoft and Barnes & Noble man, because that's our first story today. Microsoft acquiring 17.6% of a new subsidiary from Barnes & Noble that is yet to be named and will be referred to in press releases for the time being as NewCo. This is kind of the weirdest, most backwards announcement. But essentially, what Barnes & Noble is doing here is taking $300 million from Microsoft, putting it in a new subsidiary that's going to focus on the digital stuff, mostly Nook stuff, and their college bookstore business, because e-texts are all the rage these days. What Microsoft gets out of it is the Nook app will be built into Windows 8. So kind of interesting on the desktop, but for tablets that run Windows 8, that's going to be a cool thing. And Barnes & Noble and NewCo, whatever they end up calling it, will have a royalty-bearing license under Microsoft's patents for the Nook e-readers and tablets. And you remember Microsoft and Barnes & Noble were having a little patent skirmish over Android. That's all settled now as part of this acquisition.
Yeah, money solves all things. See that? Like, they were feuding, and Barnes & Noble was really vicious with the whole patent suit thing. So
yeah, there were no HTC saying, yeah, we'll give you $5.
No, they were ticked, and they were calling out Microsoft for all kinds of practices. But, I mean, this is an interesting thing that it's just a subsidiary and not a spinoff. Because, I mean, if it was an independent company, you could see that independent company trying to do more deals with other booksellers, like maybe even Amazon. That'd be crazy. But staying within Barnes & Noble is obviously a safe move. But it does consolidate things that if they ever wanted to spin off, they could. It's a lot simpler now. But it's interesting to see Microsoft back in the reader game, because I think they had Microsoft Reader. I used to use that software on my pocket PC.
Yeah.
and my tablet PC, my Slate tablet PC. So it's nice to see that. Hopefully they can work some integration with that again, because I have some books that I'd like to read again.
What gets Microsoft into the e-reader game? Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of people are speculating now that Microsoft will come out with an e-reader running.
They've got a device manufacturer now.
Or rather, I should put it this way: there will be a Nook that uses Windows instead of using Android. But there'll be some sort of joint offering here.
It doesn't matter for Microsoft if they sell an Android device. It's like, well, they make money on that. If they sell a Windows device, they make money on that. So it's all win-win for Microsoft.
They probably want a Windows-based e-reader, though, that that they can claim proof of concept here, rather than just Android's fine.
Microsoft, we think this is in addition to the $300 million to acquire the percentage stake. Microsoft will pay $180 million in revenue sharing for the Nook app. So any books sold through the Nook app on the Windows 8 installations. Some of that money is guaranteed to go to Barnes & Noble. Also guaranteeing $125 million at a pace of $25 million a year over 5 years for the purposes of assisting NewCo in acquiring local digital reading content, and technology development. So they're going to help them expand their marketplace with a little bit of a cash infusion. Russ, Newco is a great name. I think they should just stick with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, they call it Russco or Huco.
Well, then you're going to go after him.
Yeah. Well, that's part of my plan, and then I will own Microsoft. No, I think this is really honestly all about the distribution channel. I think once again Microsoft has realized they've got a lot of pieces of the puzzle, but they've sort of missed out on the really key aspect of where other people are cashing in, where Amazon and Apple are cashing in. They don't have a distribution channel that's friendly and that works across multiple devices. So I think whatever Newco is going to be focused firmly in that area.
And suddenly Barnes & Noble worth a lot more money on the stock market because people realize, hey, they've created a several billion-dollar business out of almost nothing. There was no Nook 5 years ago. So this is an impressive feat for Barnes & Noble, especially when you look at other bookstore chains like Borders, who have gone out of business instead. Barnes & Noble has pivoted very well. And this college bookstore business that Microsoft is going to be investing in as well gives Microsoft another educational field to play in, and that's something that's been important to Microsoft for years.
Maybe they can revive the Courier with this. You could have that dual screen display, and actually with textbooks that works really, really well.
That's right. I mean, there could be some of the DNA from the Courier go into this. Absolutely. Mary Jo Foley points out too that we now know what Andy Leese has been up to since he got taken off a Windows Phone. He's president at Microsoft. Nobody knew what he was working on. He made the announcement, so apparently he was working on this kind of partnership between Barnes & Noble and Microsoft.
That means books on the Xbox.
That's right. No. But don't go
Russ
getting
Pitzko.
Don't go getting your books.
Connect page turning.
Highlight. Yeah. Don't go getting your books on the Pirate Bay if you're in the UK, though, because, well, you can't get to the Pirate Bay soon.
Yeah, so the Pirate Bay must be blocked by ISPs, specifically Sky, Everything Everywhere, TalkTalk, O2, and Virgin Media in the UK. So says the UK High Court within the next few weeks. A sixth ISP, BT, has requested a few more weeks to consider their position on blocking the site. So here's what happened. The British Phonographic Industry, also known as BPI, which is Britain's music industry trade group, wanted the Pirate Bay to shut down and asked them, demanded that they do back in July of 2011. That was unsuccessful, pretty much met with silence. Then BPI asked ISPs to block the Pirate Bay back in November of 2011. All ISPs said, no, we're not going to do that unless you have a court order, in which case we would be legally forced to comply. There was a previous court order that was obtained to block a service called News Bin 2, which is similar to the Pirate Bay, downloadable content, some pirated. So there is a history of the ISPs complying, but only with a court order. Okay. In February, the High Court, based on BPI saying, listen, the Pirate Bay is violating copyright regulations, ruled yes, it's true that the Pirate Bay is going beyond enabling or assisting. And it was seen as basically the first step in the ISPs then being forced to cut off access between the Pirate Bay and their users based on an old act, the Copyright Designs and Patents Act of 1988.
That gives the court the right to say,
That's
okay,
correct.
You now are responsible for blocking this site.
That's
and what's
right.
interesting in both Newsbin and Pirate Bay, they don't host any of the infringing material.
Mm-hmm.
They merely list it.
Yes, but again, according to the High Court, they go beyond enabling or assisting when it comes to copyright and have no leg to stand on, basically. So this is where we are now. All ISPs, with the exception of BT, which is still trying to figure their stuff out, will comply. Some declined to comment. Both Virgin and O2 have given statements that are pretty similar that say, listen, we have to comply, but we feel that changing consumer behavior to tackle copyright infringement is really the bigger issue. And this is not going to change that. This is a fix for one service, but we're not really solving the problem of copyright infringement, just so you know.
And honestly, that was our chat room's reaction immediately, was like, oh, so this is going to end copyright violations in Europe if the UK ISPs block access to the Pirate Bay. Like, the people who really want to use the Pirate Bay won't figure out how to get around the block with proxies.
Right.
And I'm not saying that they should, but blocking access to the site breaks the internet in a way because it's basically saying, oh, okay, well, that domain name now doesn't work in this country or on these particular ISPs. But also, it doesn't punish the pirates.
Yeah, it's sort of a
if that's what you wanted to do.
Right. It's sort of a whack-a-mole situation, and there's actually a good quote from Jim Killock, who's the executive director at the Open Rights Group, who says something like this: will fuel calls for further, wider, and even more drastic internet censorship of many kinds, from pornography to extremism. And then internet censorship never has the effect desired. It turns criminals into heroes. Now, you may or may not believe that specifically, but it doesn't solve the wider problem of people's behavior when they have certain tools.
I think one of the points that the court was making, or at least BPI was making, was that the Pirate Bay was profiting on this by running ads, so they are the ones who are going to lose out. Not necessarily the pirates who are going to not have access, but the Pirate Bay loses. They're not making money on all the ads that they serve up. When you go to a Pirate Bay page, there's tons of ads, so they're getting paid each time. So they would be punished for this, although working around it is pretty simple. And whether the copyright problem, I mean, like if pirating problem would ever go away, that's kind of silly because there's so many ways around that. I think it's just more to punish the Pirate Bay.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Russ, I don't know if you have any different take on this than we do, but
well, I was just I was just remembering the tale of Robin Hacksaw 3667, who took from the rich entertainment media owners and gave to the poor people who couldn't afford to buy it. So I was just kind of Sarah's mention of folk heroes really struck a chord with me. I think that's going to be a major motion picture deal at some point.
All right,
I see that.
Let's finish off with some overreactions. Skype is vulnerable to showing off your IP address. Right?
Oh my God!
Yeah, Russ is on Skype right now, and now we know exactly where he is because we could tell what his IP address is.
Even though sometimes they're not exactly accurate.
Here's what's going on: a cracked copy of SkypeKit can be used to look up IP addresses on any online Skype account by starting a Skype contact request but not completing it. And then the log file will display the local and remote IP of that Skype user, even if the user is not added to the list of contacts in Skype. It bypasses the certificate authentication normally used by Skype to verify the app. So it's a workaround. It's a hack. There's a proof of concept that's been uploaded to GitHub. It can be done with a patched version of Skype 5.5 with debug turned on that's floating around. Now, IP addresses, we just mentioned, can be used for some crude geolocation. You can tell maybe what city somebody's in, maybe even a neighborhood. IP addresses could also be used to obtain more info in lawsuits. If you say, I know this call was made at this time and this is the IP address, and we can go and we can subpoena more information from the ISP. So it's not like IP addresses, knowing an IP address is totally innocent, but essentially when you go to any website, you're giving them your IP address. That's how they know how to send you the packets for the website. The difference with this is you're not aware that somebody is looking up your IP address. It's in effect exposing your IP address to people that you don't know what they're going to do with it, and that's not a great idea. That's not a good thing, but it's a vulnerability. Skype told The Verge, "We are investigating reports of a new tool that allegedly captures a Skype's user's last known IP address. This is an ongoing industry-wide issue faced by all peer-to-peer software companies. We are committed to the safety and security of our customers, and we're taking measures to help protect them." Should people freak out?
Probably not. I mean, think of Skype data. I mean, this is when you're signed on, right? So
yeah, if you're really worried about it, don't use Skype.
I usually don't run Skype unless you're going to make a Skype call anyway. The other thing is, a lot of people give out their location data with things like social networking all the time. Where are you?
Or in the profile information on Skype.
Well, yeah, because it also hooks into Facebook. Yeah. So you could say hometown, and likely you're not doing Skype on the go. Maybe you are with your phone. But a lot of people go ahead and volunteer their information on Foursquare and every other check-in service. They go, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm physically here. That's, I think, still worse than going, your IP address is some vague area right here. But hopefully Skype will patch this anyway.
Are you worried, Russ? You're on Skype right now.
Yeah, I'm terrified, actually. I was just rethinking the wisdom of this whole web show thing. Can I actually call you guys back from another number? Because I'm a little
from a non-Skype number?
Yeah.
Because if you just call from another Skype account, we'll just find that one too. So
yeah, no, I was thinking there's a payphone down the street that I use.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Secret.
I'm afraid Paul Miller's using that one. You're going to have to wait. We'll get to that in a bit. Take a quick break and thank our sponsor, ShareFile. We've all experienced it, emailing a big file to a client or an important person, and suddenly you realize, this is way too big to attach. My email program won't allow it. The ISP won't allow it in email. Sending a confidential file you want to do it securely, and there's no good way to do it. Being out of the office and you don't have access to a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation that's on your computer, we got a solution to all of these problems with ShareFile, brought to you by Citrix. Unlike other services, ShareFile was designed for business use. So instead of just like, oh, I'm going to just mount one of these free 5 gigs, you want something that's professional, allows you to send files of almost any size, access your files from any computer or mobile device, and enhance your workflow easily and securely. We use it here because what you do is you send the link to someone. They never really realize at the other end that you're using ShareFile, and it's professional. You can put encryption on it very easily. You can password protect files. To get started, we have a great offer for listeners of Tech News Today. Our listeners get a 30-day free trial plus double storage. You got to try it out today. In order to get this special offer, visit sharefile.com, click on the radio microphone, and enter our promo code TNT. Remember, visit sharefile.com, type in our promo code TNT, and you'll get that 30-day free trial plus double storage. You get twice as much as everybody else. If you've got a small business, be professional, use ShareFile. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. On to the World Series of Intellectual Property Trials, Oracle versus Google, wrapping up the first stage. This is like the first half of the series. Oracle and Google presented closing arguments today. Essentially, Oracle said Google's making excuses for stealing our stuff. We have emails that show they knew they needed a license. And here's a quote: Google executives knew this day would come. Google, in their closing arguments, said Oracle's just making up this copyright of APIs as a defense for the trial. They just wanted an excuse to sue us. They emphasized former Sun CEO Jonathan Schwartz's testimony that they didn't think that Google needed a license for the APIs or for Java. And they emphasized that even if they were copyrightable, they only copied 9 lines of code out of 15 million. That's called a de minimis offense. The quote from Google: there was no copying with that. Well, actually, there was no
that API.
There was no copying. So Judge Alsop has asked the jury to act as if APIs can be copyrighted. He will determine the legal facts of whether APIs are copyrightable or not separately. But for the purposes of jury deliberation, he said, go ahead and assume they can be, and we'll deal with it once I've made my decision. The jury is expected to take around a day and a half. They could take up to a week, depending. And after that, the trial will move on to the patent phase. So we'll get our patent wars part of the World Series.
Yes.
Meanwhile, separately from the trial, James Gosling, who's pretty much considered the father of Java, who left Oracle in April of 2010, really doesn't have a lot of love for Oracle since they bought Sun. He said he hates to say it, but he thinks Oracle's in the right. And Google slimed Sun with the way they implemented Java. Gosling actually worked for Google for about 5 months, said it wasn't the right idea. He's now chief software architect at Liquid Robotics, which honestly, they develop ocean-going robots that record and transmit data. That's the best job in the world.
Pretty much.
But he's saying, yeah, you know what, I don't want to admit it.
Sounds like he's reluctantly saying
But
this.
I think Oracle's got the right idea here. So if you look at Google's summing up, they're basically saying that APIs are not copyrightable. Well, the judge is going to decide that. They emphasized Schwartz's testimony, but Schwartz saying I didn't think they needed a license as a CEO is not the same as them legally needing a license. So that's not ironclad. And then copying 9 lines of code out of 15, the Judge Alsop issued a jury instruction saying just because most of your stuff wasn't copyright infringing doesn't mean you can let off the stuff that is copyright infringing. So that seems to kind of push them towards not ruling that 9 lines out of 15 million. That's right, not 9 out of 15. That would be the majority.
It wasn't more than half.
Yeah.
It was very.
9
but that's like
out of
being
15
like,
million.
but Costco, you have so many things in here. I only stole like 2 jars of peanut butter.
Like, I only stole this package of gum.
Like, come on, you have
Look,
so
you
much
got
more.
82-inch television over there. This is all I took. Yeah.
I don't think there's a fair use for defense, though, for shoplifting, but there is a fair use for this kind of thing. So, I mean, that's an unusual metaphor, I guess, or analogy.
Intellectual property is not the same as physical property.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's why it's intellectual.
All right. Let's move on to LG starting a cloud and stopping Windows phones.
Sure. Let's talk about LG's cloud, because the cloud's the future right here, you know?
Everyone's doing it.
Yeah, Samsung's rumored to do one in a couple of weeks, and LG, you know, there's a rival. So they're like, you know what? We're going to introduce LG Cloud. There's a beta starting tomorrow in South Korea and U.S. Full launch is expected next year. Although you could sign up right now and get access. I somehow got it, so I'm assuming it's just open to everybody. It allows you to access your photos and videos, including 3D content on your phone, PC, smart TV, and set-top box. Videos are transcoded on the go. So what happens is if you're on a phone, they're going to give you like a lower bit rate. If you're on a TV, you're going to get a better connection. Apps, you're going to get it on an LG Cloud Android app. There's a PC client only for XP and Windows 7. No OS 10, no Linux support. There's a web app that supports uploads, but it doesn't look like it's a viewer. You can't actually see what you've uploaded. You can download your stuff if you want. But then again, if you're uploading your stuff, you can while you're downloading it again. Let's see. Apps will also be available via the Play Store, Google's Play Store, and LG's own Smart World, which is for their TVs and, I guess, phones. There's going to be free and paid tiers offered. 5 gigabytes free for everyone.
That seems to be the going rate.
Everyone loves 5. 50 gigabytes for 6 months if you have an LG TV or phone.
And then you have to pay after the 6 months?
They haven't announced how much it's going to cost.
After 6 months, we'll let you know.
Yeah. So put up, over 5.
Get used to it. And then we'll decide how much to jank you for.
Or choose which 10% to keep. And then LG's also announced in an earnings call, they're not so hot on Windows Phone anymore. They have no plans for future Windows Phone devices, but will continue on research and development. There's a great quote, LG spokesperson talking to the Korea Herald saying, the total unit of Windows Phone sold in the global market is not a meaningful figure. So that's bad news for Windows Phone.
That is kind of harsh on the Windows Phone, but what do you think of this cloud offering? I see no reason to use the LG Cloud unless I'm using an LG phone, and even then I want to know how much it's going to cost me after 6 months. I don't see a big advantage here to going with a Dropbox, for instance.
It's just another 5 gigabytes. That's how I guess
that's
That's
true.
how I keep looking at it.
You might as well just be like, well.
SkyDrive was 7 or 25. I'm like, I don't really use that, but I'll get it anyway. Box.net, the promotion, 50 gigabytes, I have that for no reason.
Why hasn't somebody come up with and I bet somebody is, so I'm asking this because I want people to email and tell me they already have that, something that binds all the free 5 gigabytes into one client that I can use on my desktop.
I think Dan Patterson was talking about that yesterday on TWiT, and the issue would be like the terms of APIs wouldn't allow you to do that. I think the Google Drive was one of them.
There's got to be a way around.
So that's one of the reasons why it's still separated, but that could be something that could be addressed, I would imagine. I'm just keeping everything. I like the ones with clients because at least then you can search it on your operating system. Mm-hmm. That's at least something compared to...
Look, if we can have a script that illegally finds people's IP addresses by hacking Skype, somebody can put something up on GitHub that allows me to access all the free 5 gigabytes at once.
So send an email to TNT@twit.tv about that because I want to find it too. I have like 75 gigabytes of space.
Make it. Make it and make us happy.
I'm lazy. I know I should.
Is this like what Tom? Is this like what you used to do with your AOL free discs? You just get a new free disc every 30 days.
There was that guy we knew. There was a guy Russ and I knew in Austin in the 90s who basically never paid for internet access because he just make new accounts and use the free disc all the time, and then he had like a free email account. So that was his email. CLT
Steve in the chat room is saying there is a thing that does this already. It's called Gladinet or Gladinet.
Gladinet?
Yeah, so gladinet.com, GLADINET.com. It's supposed to do a bridge. I have to look into this, but access different servers and actually shows you as a local drive on your desktop.
I mean, there are ways to make use of as much free stuff as possible, but that's also, then you got to manage your time and remember to keep making new email addresses and that sort of thing. It's a
lot of work.
Yeah. It's just... How much you need all that free storage?
Right before the S Cloud.
Well, if you don't have a job, then you've got the time.
This guy was freelance,
Yeah, I think living free off of free offers, that's a justifiable, way of life.
I'm going to do that for a year. I'm just going to live off of free offers for 1 year.
Isn't that what John Travolta's character did in Look Who's Talking Now?
I don't know, Tom. I don't watch those kinds of movies.
Maybe
I think it's what John Travolta's career was doing in Look Who's Talking.
All right, let's finish up with something that'll apply to a Polygon employee. NVIDIA firing up at the Shanghai Game Festival the announcement engine to bring us a new graphics card, the GeForce GTX 690. It has two 28-nanometer Kepler GPUs, 3,072 CUDA cores running 915 megahertz base clock, 2 sticks of 2 gigabyte GDDR5 RAM, which can give you 4 gigabytes of dedicated video buffer, plated aluminum on the outside, magnesium alloy around the fan for vibration reduction, dual vapor chambers on top of the 2 GPUs and a center-mounted fan. This baby can run next to another one just like it in SLI as an effective quad-core. They claim it's 4 decibels quieter and has twice the frame rate of the GTX 680s in SLI. Runs Crysis 2 Ultra at 57.8 frames per second. Those are all NVIDIA's claims. We'll see if they pan out in the benchmarking and the testing. Available May 3rd in limited quantities and wider availability on May 7th. Russ, is this thing worth $1,000? It's $999.99.
I don't know if it's worth it, but I saw that thing today, and my first thought was, I really want one.
I really want two.
Yeah, I want two. I actually do want two. I'm probably not going to buy two, but it's insane. And I think you're going to need that if you want to run the upcoming Max Payne 3 on a PC. I think their recommended specs or something like for PCs that don't actually exist. It's ridiculous. Look, I don't know if it's really worth all that money. Obviously, it's the new hotness in video cards, and so everybody is going to want one, and there's definitely a market for those. I think we're at the point now where the current gaming console generation is so long in the tooth that the PC market is starting to sort of catch up and fill that gap with the new hardware. I mean, it's been a good 7 to 8 years since a new piece of gaming hardware has come out outside of a PC, and the PCs are really starting to take advantage of that, giving core gamers the envelope pushing experiences that they want. And this is right in line with that. I mean, sure, you could buy 2 reasonably powerful gaming PCs for the price of this one video card, but that's not really the point.
Sure, you could. You could do that.
You could, but there's a market for anything really, and PC gaming is an area where there is a definite and a justifiable market for people spending money on ridiculously overpowered hardware.
Yeah, Ken from Chicago in our chat room is like, wait, isn't this the post-PC era? Why would you do this? But that's why you would do it, because you want to run Max Payne 3.
Exactly.
Well, and the question I have, and I know it's too early to answer this because we don't have good benchmarks and testing and everything yet, but I'd just like your opinion. They're really making a big deal in marketing this thing as the new hotness. They're saying like trivalent chromium plated aluminum instead of just plated aluminum, and thixo molded magnesium alloy. And what's the box that it comes in?
It's like in a crate, and it says weapons grade gaming or something strange.
Video game.
And it actually ships with a crowbar, so you can open the crate.
Yeah.
For this.
So this is crazy stuff. But all that aside, does it live up to the hype? Will it live up to the hype?
It lives up to the hype if you want it to live up to the hype. That's the thing about the core gaming audience. There are people out there with way more money than they need who will spend it on ridiculous crap just because it's marketed well.
But this isn't crap, right? I mean, it's actually a decent video card.
I don't know if trivalent
chromium plated,
Corinthian leather or whatever. I don't know if that's really a thing, and if it is a thing, does it matter? Like, it's 4 decibels quieter. Okay. 4 decibels, that's nothing. I mean, you're not even that is not an appreciable difference in something that makes a lot of noise, right? So it's a lot of marketing hype, it's a lot of double talk and PR gobbledygook, but it's still whether or not half of that is bullshit, it's still the coolest video card that's ever been made, and people are going to buy it.
Hey, Russ, do you think the timing of this is because of Ivy Bridge coming out and people are like, oh, yeah, you can do everything integrated, but then NVIDIA's like, look, this is the new thing. This is it.
Can't
and
do this integrated.
You're not going to buy the $1,000 one off the bat, but maybe you'll go, I'll buy another card. At least I can buy, like a $100 card, a $200 card. And then it'll go, well, Ivy Bridge is good, but I can really get some processing power here.
Totally. I think a lot of people have been holding off spending money on building new PCs, waiting for the Ivy Bridge to come out. It's tax season. Tax returns are coming out. I mean, this is all very strategic unveiling here. I think they're going to sell a few of these. I'm not surprised, and I don't think it's unreasonable.
Our chat room is very upset that you said 4 decibels is nothing. They're like, it's very significant.
It's significant. It's significant. Well, I guess if you're going to spend $1,000 on a video card or $2,000 on a video card just because it's the newest hotness out there, then 4 decibels is fairly significant. But me, if you've got a game going, if you have a ceiling fan running in your house, you will probably not hear that difference. But it's like anything else. When it matters to you, it matters to you. And if 4 decibels.
Yeah, it's like an audio file. Like a real true hardcore gamer is going to say, well, I can tell the difference. I can hear that difference, even with the ceiling fan.
I can hear it because I paid for it.
I can hear the money.
Exactly.
I think it is significant, but I think you're right. For most people, it may not notice, but
it's like the difference. Yeah, it's like the difference between MP3 and CD. I mean, you're not going to tell the difference. Most people will not tell the difference.
Right.
But if it matters, honestly, I think if you want to get 4 decibels of sound dampening, you should take that $1,000 in $20 bills and line your PC case with it. And that'll reduce the sound getting out. Pretty significant.
All right, let's take a quick break before we get into News Fuse and thank our sponsor, Ford, featuring available voice-activated Sync App Link. Sync App Link enables you to control select mobile apps from your smartphone, meaning you don't have to upgrade your car. You got a Ford, you got Sync App Link. You're going to be able to take advantage of all kinds of new apps all the time with simple voice commands, helping you keep your hands on the wheel, your eyes on the road. You can voice control apps from Pandora, from Stitcher, OpenBeak, which is a Twitter reading client, Slacker Radio, iHeartRadio, NPR. iHeartRadio is a Thumbplay service, allows you to just say, yeah, thumbs up, skip that song. Wait. Go to my save stations. Play this all while you're driving with your hands on the road, your hands on the wheel, your eyes on the road. Sync App Link is built on an API platform, which means Ford and app developers are always bringing new in-vehicle control to more apps. And all you got to do is download the app on your phone. You don't have to do anything to your car. They have a mobile application developer network that enables developers to contact Ford about their app ideas, allowing Ford to bring them to you faster. You can expect to see more sync-enabled mobile apps that can go along for the ride in Ford vehicles soon. So check them out. Check out NPR. Check out iHeartRadio. Check out Pandora, Stitcher. Get your podcast. Learn more about Sync App Link and other technologies at Ford.com/technology. We thank them for their support of Tech News Today. Let's move on to the News Fuse. The New York Times took a look at 3 years of Kickstarter projects and found that the highest average funding went to the design category, raising roughly $29,000 per project. Design would be things like the Pebble. On sheer numbers, film and video projects pulled in the most amount of money by raising $60 million. Design pulled in $29 million, $7 million of which went to the Pebble specifically. So they kind of spiked that design number up there.
Google released a new version of the FCC's findings. That's when the agency investigated Google for grabbing Wi-Fi data via the Street View project. The report says that a rogue engineer was responsible for intentionally writing the code that captured the data. That engineer had communicated his actions to a senior manager and the Street View team via an October 2006 document. That managers say, well, we didn't read it. Google still says it did not okay the engineer's actions, obviously.
Apple makes a lot of money for Nokia. According to Nokia's financial statements, Apple paid Nokia roughly $600 million for patent licensing in the last quarter. Now, Windows Phone, on the other hand, led Nokia to a loss of $1.7 billion. So good luck, Nokia.
Maybe Nokia should just sell iPhones. According to the New York Post, Hulu may soon require users to authenticate that they have a paid television subscription to watch some programs. Last week, Hulu's non-network partner Providence Equity Partners sold off its interest in Hulu. The Post says the move was motivated by Hulu's authentication plans, which are in their first steps.
Well, wait a second. Paid television subscription?
So, like with HBO Go, where you have to verify that you're an HBO subscriber in order to use their online app, Hulu might do that for certain shows on Hulu. Say, you can only watch this if you verify that you're a Comcast subscriber or a DirecTV subscriber.
But that's the whole reason I pay for Hulu. Because I don't use those.
That's why Providence Equity said, see ya.
Oh, boy. If you want to get your hands on a laptop with Intel's latest and greatest Ivy Bridge processors, listen up. Right now, a number of companies, including Dell's, Alienware, HP, and Maingear, have Ivy Bridge-equipped laptops ready for pre-order. If you have one ASAP, it looks like the HP Pavilion 6V6T or the DV7T are your best bet with a shipping date of May 9th.
Surely this will save Nintendo.
Something ought to.
The company is launching a brand new edition of the 3DS. What's different about this, you may ask?
What's different? What's cool?
It's purple, but not just any purple. It's midnight purple. It's going to cost $170 when it launches on May 20th, which is the same day as Mario Tennis Open's release. So, yeah, that's the way to go.
Gotta save Nintendo, Russ. Purple.
Oh yeah, I mean, A, they're in danger of failing. I can tell, but B, people are going to buy this thing. I don't think it's many. I think that the days are numbered during which Nintendo can just put out a new color of a device and expect it to sell multiple copies. I think they're. I don't know. I mean, what can I say? Those things print money. I'm just making it up.
Next month, Pinky Russet. Nintendo 3DS. Users of the international version of the Tegra 3-powered HTC One X can now install Cyanogen Mod. This version was developed by the Tripandroid mobile engineering team and is available at the Modeco forums. So if you want to get rid of the HTC's Sense UI, you've got your chance. But be warned, camera and Wi-Fi hotspot functions don't work yet.
It takes energy to power the cloud, so Apple's buying a whole bunch of Bloom fuel cells to power its data center in Northern Carolina. If you're in North Carolina, also known as Northern Carolina, if you're unfamiliar with Bloom's technology, its Bloom energy servers can generate electricity using a variety of sources like biogas or natural gas while reducing carbon emissions. Shut up, Iyaz. Partially because energy doesn't have to travel on the power grid. Power is hard.
I'm Ron.
Let's go
Can I talk
shopping.
now? Because I have to do the next one.
Yeah, I'm done.
All right, thanks. Some guy just joined Vidi, a service with a video sharing mobile app, and that's usually not news, but that guy is Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
this
He
quit
means something.
Facebook?
Yeah, of
Oh
course.
my God.
Obviously, people think that means he's going to buy it because the people are comparing Vidi to Instagram, which Instagram just was purchased. If you're curious, Zuckerberg posted a video of his world-famous dog, Beast.
Oh, he
So
just signed up for the service.
that's what he did, yeah.
He didn't
signed
quit
up for the
Facebook
service.
and go work
no.
for Vidi.
He's not on the board of Vidi. He's
Okay.
not hanging out with the Vidi
This
person.
is also an old video because his dog is older now. I follow his dog on
Wow.
Facebook.
You really know. Good research.
Thank you, Tom. I take my job
in the
really
name of
seriously.
research.
So, yeah, he's probably going to buy Vidi for $1 billion.
That's
that
kind of thing
must
Neil
be
Dash is
what this
talking
all
about right
means.
Let's move on to the randomizer.
Randomizer.
So, a coworker of yours, Mr. Russ Pitts, over there at the Vox Media, Paul Miller from The Verge, has a post up today saying that he is leaving the internet for a year. Now, he's not going to go walk the earth like Kane from Kung Fu. He's going to continue to report for The Verge. He's just not going to use the internet for a year. This is pretty intense. He's got a long explanation of how he plans to do this. He's going to have a phone that will have Wi-Fi turned off, so he'll be able to use the phone, be able to make calls. He'll still use computers, so he can write his articles. He'll have a P.O. box where people can get in touch with him by snail mail. Russ, what do you all think of this over there? I mean, it takes some cooperation from The Verge to allow him to do this experiment.
Yeah, it's a little nuts. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, being old, I lived a good portion of my life without internet, and I wouldn't go back. So I don't know exactly what Paul is thinking. We were talking about this all day today. This is going to be quite the experiment. There's going to be lots of printing of things. He's going to be carrying his stories.
He can use USB keys, right?
He'll be using USB keys. He'll have his Apple machine. He'll have his iPad. He'll have his phone. They just won't be connected to the internet at all.
How does the iPad thing work, by the way? Because that means whatever apps he's got now is what he's stuck with. I don't think there's any other way of
You're
getting
in
them.
airplane mode the whole time.
Yeah.
But he can't update anything. He can't download new apps.
Well, then that's what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, okay.
You know, he can't look at BuzzFeed either. He'll never know about the memes, or they'll make a lot less sense.
You know what this actually means, though, is that a year from now, when he gets back onto the internet, he's going to spend like a week updating. I mean, it's going to take him forever.
I think it's going to take him longer than that.
Well, then he's going to be like, want to see what else has been going on in the world. Like,
I'm really fascinated with this project. My first reaction, I saw the headline, I'm quitting the internet for a year. And it's like, oh boy, who needs to prove this over 365 days? But I think that's precisely the point. As I might say something like, okay, well, maybe I could do this for a month. Maybe, but then I'd lose my job if I couldn't connect to the internet type of a thing. But that is not really the point of this. The point is to understand this huge connected life that we're all in from a true outsider's perspective. And maybe you do need that much time.
And he said he may not last. He's like, he may last 3 hours, freak out, and go back. He's just going to see how long he's going to make it.
Though. After all of this, you better stay off the internet for a year, Paul Miller.
Well, I can definitely relate. I mean, I have had moments where I felt like there's, I've got internet on my phone. I'll sit and watch TV on my internet connected television. Meanwhile, I'm playing draw something on my internet connected tablet. I got my internet connected phone buzzing when I get emails. It gets a little bit much. I think it is very easy. It's much easier now than it ever has been to overdo it on access and connectability. I'm not sure if going all the way in the other direction to the opposite extreme is really the solution to the problem, but I'm actually really curious to see what happens with Paul. I think New York is probably San Francisco are really the only two places you could do that and get away with it. If I tried that here in North Carolina, I would have to give up living. My quality of civilization would just plummet.
Northern Carolina, I believe.
Northern Carolina, as Sarah Lane calls it. Yeah.
You're all horrible.
I'd have to go
people.
all Grizzly Adams. Yeah.
Well, I think what's interesting here is, the idea of being addicted to the internet, or the internet's in too many parts of my life. I always try to take things about the internet like that, substitute electricity, and see if they still sound silly. And, I definitely have heard people say, I want to live without electricity. I want to see, what life is like without electricity. But it's not that electricity is bad or you're addicted to electricity. It's more of a curiosity of how dependent are we on this particular thing. And I think that's what's most interesting about this. Can he, in a society where we're willing to say, cut off internet access, 3 strikes if you're accused of copyright infringement, and other people say, no, internet should be a human right. How easy is it for him to get along in the society without internet? Because lots of people don't have the internet. It's not 100% pervasive. And still be able to do his job. That's the most interesting thing to me.
Yeah, that's the real key. Being an online journalist myself, I mean, I can't imagine. I can't imagine doing the job without internet. Just the logistics of doing the job. I mean, printing stuff and passing USB keys, sneaker netting it. That's feasible. That is absolutely certainly feasible. I just don't think it's realistic.
If you see him soon, can you just pass along this suggestion to him for me? Do you mind?
Sure. Yeah.
When he's finished saving a document to the USB key and he's about to take it out, can he yell "copy"?
Yes.
Copy! As he runs it. Yeah.
Just like in the old Tech TV newsroom. Honestly, I actually don't think I'll be speaking to Paul Miller again anytime soon.
Right, because you're not in the same city with him. You're never going to see him again for a year.
Yeah, so I'll actually, it'll probably be the speed of Pony Express or
Can you send him a postcard?
Oh, I've got it. Postagram. Yeah. Start sending Paul Miller Instagram pictures.
I like it.
In the U.S. Postal Service system.
I like it. That's
he launches the P.O. box.
He won't miss a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful.
Memes.
Tech rules.
That's how he gets his memes. All right. I want to thank our other sponsor for today's show, GoToMeeting by Citrix. Being able to attach a face to a name is important. It enhances relationships, makes it easier to have meetings. But you can't meet all your clients and colleagues in person. Russ was just talking about Paul Miller goes off the internet. He may not see him for a year. That's why we recommend GoToMeeting with HD Faces. It lets you meet face-to-face from anywhere in the world, even on the go, with an iPad. Here's how it works. With GoToMeeting by Citrix, you take a webcam and a click, and you collaborate in group HD video. It's not complicated. Anybody with a computer can use it. Then you can see your attendees eye to eye. You can read that nonverbal communication. You can collaborate in real time on documents, even when you're thousands of miles apart. Plus, GoToMeeting is easy to set up and simple to use. We use it for meetings right here at TWiT. I can't tell you how great it is. HD video, so clear. The app's on the iPad, so convenient. You can walk around, be wherever you need to be, and still be in the meeting. So start hosting your own face-to-face online meetings today with GoToMeeting. Our audience can try it free for 30 days. Visit GoToMeeting.com. That's GoToMeeting.com. Click the Try It Free button and use the promo code TNT. And we thank GoToMeeting and Citrix for their support of Tech News Today. What's on the calendar there, Sarah?
Glad you asked, Tom. RIM's annual BlackBerry World kicks off in Orlando this afternoon. A lot of folks obviously pretty interested in what RIM has to say to
RIM?
developers and partners about the rosy 2012 ahead of us. But that's not all. It's a big week for conferences. Future Insights Live, which is actually Future of Web Apps, Future of Web Design, Future of Mobile, and Future of Web and the Enterprise, all in one big conference, starts today in Vegas, goes through May 4th. The Wired Business Conference is a one-day event in New York City tomorrow. And Mortal Kombat is coming to the PlayStation Vita also tomorrow, May 1st. And finally, Apple CEO Tim Cook and Samsung CEO Choi Gi-sung are set to meet on May 21st and 22nd to begin talks that could potentially lead to a settlement in their very ongoing patent infringement lawsuit battle. The talks will be overseen by Magistrate Judge Joseph C. Spiro in San Francisco.
Let's check what's incoming.
Incoming message.
First is a voicemail with a tip for using Google Drive, but keeping your files intact so they don't get processed, which happens to video sometimes on Google Drive. And we're going to play it for
First
you.
of all, I love the job that Darren Kitchen did on Friday's episode. Awesome. Other than that, as far as Google Drive, hey, if you really want to make sure that you get the same files back, then use something like 7-zip and zip your files up. You can even encrypt them. That way Google doesn't have access to them if you're worried about that. That way, later on, you'll get the exact same files back that you uploaded. All right. Hope this helps. Thanks. Bye.
Good idea. Also, you could use TrueCrypt, encrypt, and that's a trick I use with Dropbox as well. So, good tip. Thanks for that. On to the emails, and this one comes from Barry in New York. Just listened to episode 489 and wanted to respond to our comments that handheld gaming may be moving to phones and devices like the Nintendo 3 moving to phones, and that devices like the Nintendo 3DS are a lost cause. Russ, I want to hear what you think about this. He says, as a father of 3 boys who love handheld gaming and who don't have or need smartphones, devices like the Nintendo DS, DSi, and 3DS are great platforms for them to game on. They can share games, sync their devices for multiplayer, etc., without the need for data plans, social networking accounts, and all of that. What I have noticed over the last few years is that these devices have gotten more sophisticated and seem to be targeted at an older market. That may be their ultimate undoing. My 9-year-old's 3DS can do some amazing things that he is too young to understand or take advantage of, and by the time he is old enough to get it, he'll likely have moved on to a smartphone or iPod Touch. My 13-year-old son has a 3DS and an iPod Touch, and he plays on both, mainly because Nintendo's flagship games like Super Mario, Pokemon, Zelda are all over there in the 3DS. Nintendo should sell their games on other platforms if they want to stay totally relevant.
Feel like that's what we've been hearing?
We have said that before. Yeah.
Well, that new purple 3DS is really going to solve a lot of the problems there.
Can't get a purple iPhone, can you?
You can't get a purple iPhone. That's
you get a
all
purple
I'm saying.
Droid Razor Max, I think. So that's not going to save it at all.
HTC Envy.
That's I thought that was not purple though. That was some other color.
But it has little donglies.
Yeah.
Stuff that sparkles. That is the Envy one, right? Marketed towards women.
Yes.
I think there's a lot going on in that question.
Do you think handheld gaming can last in the face of phones?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's facing an existential threat in the face of the Apple's dominance of that market, and it's just getting more and more dominant. I think there will always be a market for a device that's going to get in the hands of kids, and kids are going to play games. And I think I know plenty of adults who love handheld games. I didn't expect the PS Vita to be as big a hit as it is, and I think there are a lot of people who just really appreciate the elegance of that device and all the offerings that it has with it. So I think there's still going to be a market. It's not going to be as big a market for mobile gaming, but Nintendo really has some staying power in that market itself. As far as them sharing their games on other platforms, I don't ever see that happening unless it's their last recourse. It's just not something they've ever demonstrated any willingness to do. They've repeatedly said over and over again they're not going to do it. They're never going to do it. It's not in their DNA. I can see them potentially being in a situation, if that purple 3DS doesn't sell as well as they're expecting it to, I can see them potentially being in a Sega situation where they need to cut some losses. I don't think their hardware division is going to be the first stage of that. So we're multiple generations away from them even having to look that in the eye. And if they do, it'll be the absolute last thing they do.
Next email from Will Mullen in Chicago, Illinois. Hey, Twit heads. In Friday's show, you talked about a new implant for eyesight. Like you, I think it's awesome. Unlike you, I don't want it. You need 4 times the resolution of an 8K TV to start even approaching the capacity of the human eye. Will says, I've been slowly going blind for 50 years. I was an early adopter of ebooks before iPod, before Audible came along. All the accessibility tricks available to computer users have helped me to remain somewhat productive, but I don't want a vision implant. Tech is wonderful until it fails. I recently replaced a pair of hearing aids at $3,200 per ear because my other ones just got old, stopped working. Besides, like my electronic ears, my electronic eyes won't feel natural, could be subject to all sorts of interference, etc. Fortunately, there are a couple other options on the horizon. A group in Oregon will be starting a clinical trial on gene therapy for retinitis pigmentosa patients soon. It'll be a race to see who gets to market first. Where the new electronic eye may prove more useful, and you guys missed this, is in robotics. Enjoy the show. Keep up the good work.
It is a pet peeve of mine to say we missed it. We can't cover every single possible idea, so we may not have missed it. But it's a good thought, nonetheless, Will, that this could be used in robotics, absolutely. And I think it's really interesting what he's saying about, I don't want mechanical solutions because they're expensive, and when they fail, sometimes they fail all at once.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm maybe because I'm biased with the whole. My dad was a doctor, so like pacemakers and things that save people's lives that are mechanical and that can fail. Like that stuff is really important because organic stuff fails. So that's why you have these things. So I guess I'm just on the.
There's
other
a little bit of treating the symptoms over treating the cause, though, where mechanical devices often treat the symptoms, but don't cure the problem, right? And what he's saying is, if we could actually cure the blindness, I think that's better.
Well, but in the meantime, maybe electro eye. I mean, it could obviously be extremely dangerous if it fails while you're driving or something, but it's also replaceable. So if something fails, you get another one, and it's not necessarily the same with a natural solution.
Good point, though, Will. Thanks for sending us that email. And thank you, folks, for submitting to our subreddit, technewstoday.reddit.com, the place to go if you want to let us know what articles you would like us to discuss on the show each day. Either submit a link or just vote the links that have been submitted up or down as you would like us to talk about them. technewstoday.reddit.com. We thank everybody in there, especially our moderators who help keep that thing going. And it helps us out in choosing our lineup every single day. Russ Pitts, always a pleasure to have you on, my friend. Let folks know what's going on at Polygon. You got a name, you got a website, you're still all your content's still on The Verge. Where are you at? How far away are we?
We are maybe a quarter away, maybe a little more. We're still saying later this year for when the actual physical technological location of the new website is going up. You can see there the preview page. All of our content is still at The Verge /gaming for now. We'll be pushing there. Our Twitter flipped over seamlessly. So if you were following us on Twitter at Vox Games, now you are following us at Polygon. Lots of big announcements, and we'll have a big presence at this year's E3 Expo in Los Angeles. There will probably be a lot more that I can talk about then if it hasn't already been announced. But for now, we're still just ramping up. We're still hiring people, hiring like crazy. We're going to be announcing freelance feature article submission policies here in the next few days. Still, it's slow, steady progress to launching a brand new, gigantic site that's going to be terrifying.
Inexorable progress towards victory is what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's a lot of fun. I mean, we're at that stage where things are starting to get real, and it's starting to get a little freaky. Just sort of how much is coming together and how exciting it all is. But we still have a lot of work to do, so we're on it.
Check it out, Polygon.com. Thanks, everybody, for watching or listening. You can find us on the web, twit.tv/TNT. You can email us. Our email address is TNT@twit.tv. There comes the music. And you can give us a call. Our phone number is 260-TNT-SHOW. Who's going to be on the show tomorrow? Why? It's Kevin Purdy. We'll see you then.